Hey there, artist. Here is the next step in our weaving process. After our loom is ready and we have both knots on both ends, this is what we do next. I go to the yarn box and I pick out a piece of yarn, whatever color I want to be on the top of my bookmark. And remember, I need you to create a pattern with your bookmark. So think about that when you're picking your colors. And so the black color is the first yarn that this student picked out. And so I picked out green for my first color, and I made it pretty long. It's probably about the length of two of my arms, so twice on my arms. And here's what I do. With my name at the top, I pull the yarn all the way tight so this so this knot is right here at the top. And then I need to tie this green piece onto the pink. I can tie it on this edge or on this edge. I think I'm going to tie it on this edge since it's closest to me. I just tie a simple knot. And I pull it tight. And then I need to push everything up. So I'm going to push this green knot up toward that pink knot. I'm going to push my loom up. And now I'm ready to weave. I will tell you this right now. This is the most difficult part when we get started weaving. But once you can get past this first part, then the rest of it is just a breeze. So what I'm going to do is take my green yarn and I'm going to go over, under, over, under. I'm going to create an over, under pattern. Over this straw, pull it through. Under this straw, pull it through. Over the next straw, pull it through. And then when I get to the end here, I need to wrap it around that last straw and start my pattern all over again. So now, class, am I going to go over or under this straw? Over. Look, I'm going to wrap it around, that's right, and go over. And what's next, class? Under. Under. And then? Over. Over. And then? Under. Okay, so I'm at the end now. What do I need to do? Wrap it around. Do I go over or under? Over. You got it. And then what? Under. Now what? Over. Under. Wrap it around. Okay, so you get the idea. The main thing when you're doing this first set of weaving is to make a zigzag pattern. And then when you get to the bottom, when I get to the bottom, I can push it up. And it actually starts to look like the bookmark. And then I keep going and I keep going. And when my green yarn runs out, I go get the next color and I tie it to the end of this green yarn and I keep weaving. And that is how I start to weave. Hey there, artist. Now that you have a lot of your weaving done on your straws, let me show you the next step. I know some artists think that this is the time when we are done, but we're not actually. So we have two examples here, and one example is ready for the straws to come off and one example is not. One thing that you need to do first before it's time to take your weaving off of the straws, like for example here, this student is almost to the bottom of the weaving of the straws, but if she pushes it up, she has a lot more room that she can still weave on the straw. So before you take the straws off, you need to make sure that you've pushed it up as far as it can go. I always push mine up really tight, that way I'm going to have a nice, tight, long bookmark. So this student is not quite ready to take the straws off yet. This student, on the other hand, is. The student has pushed the weaving up and is ready for the next step. So the first thing I do is I take the masking tape off of the straws. I'm going to use it again so I don't want to tear it. And then I'm going to put the masking tape above the knot so that I know it's still mine. or in this case, the student can know it's hers. Now, here's where you have to be super careful. We're gonna, because there's no tape up here blocking the yarn from coming off of the straw, I have to be super careful that I only push off one color at a time. So here's what I mean. I'm gonna push off the blue, and it's gonna look a little floppy at first, but that's okay because eventually it's gonna end up looking like the final product. So I push off one color, and a little bit of the purple is coming off, but that's okay. So now I can push the rest of this up, and I have more room at the bottom to weave. And so after this student finishes the blue, then she'll push the purple off. And then when she finishes the next color, she'll push the pink off. And eventually it's going to be pushed up so tight, and the weaving will take up all of the straws, that then it will be time to take the straws out. So it's not quite time to take the straws out yet. It's time to move the tape and push off one color at a time and keep weaving and fill up the straws. Do not do this step until your weaving is all the way at the bottom of your straws. And that is how I do the next step of weaving a bookmark. Okay, artists, this is the last step before our bookmark is ready. This is what the final product, the final bookmark, looks like when it's done. This is the step right before. It looks like this, and then this is the step before this step. Notice that this artist has not filled up the entire loom, and there's still plenty of space for this artist. I can everything. Push it up as tight as I can. And I'm going to have a lot of extra loom left here, but that's okay, and you'll see why in a minute. Later I'm going to loosen this, but right now I need as far up as I can. So carefully, slowly, I'm going to cut. Oh, that worked out nicely. So my red yarn is still showing, and there's no knot here at the bottom now. Now what I'm going to do is make sure that I don't move my loom, because right now if I move my loom and I pull the top, everything's going to fall apart. I'm going to press with my hand or my thumb on 3 of the straws, and maybe I might need to put my hand up here to secure everything because I don't want it to move. I'm going to pull one straw out slowly and carefully. I'm keeping my eye on this red piece of yarn, making sure it does not go into the blue. Ah, that's exactly what I want. I'm going to do the same thing on these straws. Now I'm going a little bit faster than you should because I've done this many times, but you need to go slow. Good. So now I have my 4 pieces of red yarn and my last piece of blue yarn that I was weaving with. So what I'm going to do now is grab all 5 of those pieces of yarn with one hand and keep pushing this up, up, up. Because now I need to tie a knot with all 5 pieces of yarn. This can be tricky, but you can do it. Pull that knot tight. Ah, cool, look at that. Now I can stretch my bookmark out. Awesome. I'm going to trim off these little fringes, the leftovers. I'm going to trim this one to match the others. I'm going to take my masking tape off because now I know it's mine. And then the last thing we can do is decorate. Oops, let me cut those off. We can decorate the ends of our bookmark, like you see I've done here. I added some beads. I tied them on. And I frayed the ends. So when I fray the end, this is what I do. I untwist the yarn and I pull the little strings of yarn apart that are inside that big string. And it frays the end. So I can do, oops, let's trim that one up so he matches everybody else. I can do that to all of my ends, or I can tie beads on the end. And that is how I complete my bookmark.